What is up, my friends? We are back with another late night agenda, and as always, it's a pleasure to be here with you. We're going to be talking about the situation with Mohamed Salah potentially being unhappy with the transfers that Liverpool have made. We'll talk about Marc Guehi and the growing belief that he could well become a Liverpool player. We've got lots of other bits and pieces as well, including a bit of praise for Hugo Ekitike from Troy Deeney. We'll talk about what Gary Neville and others have had to say about the situation ongoing at Liverpool. And of course, I'll do my best to keep you up to date with absolutely everything that we can. As always, thank you guys for dropping in with me. Appreciate your understanding over the past couple of days while I haven't been around. But I did tell you I'll be back on Thursday, and I am a man of my word. So we have a lot to get through tonight. Of course, it is your show, my friends. Let me know what it is you'd like to discuss, and I'll take you through our sponsors, Big Up, and their competition in a moment's time. But until then, just want to again say a big thank you to you all. For Connor as well, for putting out a couple of videos over the last couple of days to keep the channel ticking over. It really does mean a lot to me, and all the messages I've received of support as well, they have not gone unnoticed. Right, where do I want to start today? Because honestly, there's a lot of stuff. Do you know what? Let's start off with something nice and simple, something around our owners. This being reported here that Liverpool's owners, Fenway Sports Group, are set to receive a significant financial windfall after agreeing in principle to sell the Pittsburgh Penguins in a deal that values the NHL franchise somewhere between 1.7 and 1.8 billion US dollars. So again, I can't remember actually off the top of my head what they paid for the Pittsburgh Penguins when they bought them, but it hasn't gone to plan by the looks of it. They're selling up rather quickly, and still looking to make a nice tidy little profit on that one. Will that money be reinvested into another club, maybe, let's say, from a footballing perspective? I really don't know, folks, but that is a little bit of news there. Also, the Stefan Bajcetic situation, Lewis Steele has been saying that Liverpool still believe that Stefan Bajcetic can hit the levels he hit when he first broke into the team in the 2022-23 season. So I know that isn't quite a return date for Stefan for you, but it is at least a little bit of Stefan Bajcetic news, which we haven't really had much of over the last while. Now, Super chat that came in nice and early before we got started from Liz. Now, Liz, I've been speaking to Connor, my friend, and we are trying to figure out something unique that we can do for you from myself and Connor that would, of course, be signed by us and sent over to you, but that wouldn't get you hit with all those tariffs as well. As you know, Liz, we don't really do Anfield Agenda memorabilia, but we are working on something that we are going to get signed and sent over to you early in the new year, as per my promise to you in Discord the other day. But thank you so much, and love right back to you as well, Liz, and of course to your family as well. I know exactly how hard things have been for you guys, and you're nothing ever than upbeat, positive, and loving, Liz. So thank you from all of us, and of course we wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. Right, so yeah, loads to get through. How's it going? Good. The building work resumed today, which was great. On the office, so that's ticking along, which is good news. You know, I'll take any positive I can get at this point. And look, we've lots of transfer news to get through as well that I haven't had the chance. Don't forget as well that we will be live here on Saturday for the game against Spurs. We'll be kicking off our coverage from 4:15 p.m. and I'm going to explain in a couple of moments' time to you how we're going to make your match days even more fun. I know what you're saying. Hang on, Craig. How can you being here and something else make it even more fun? You're here, Craig. That makes it fun. I know, you're right. But we can make it a little bit more fun for you. That coming up in a couple of moments' time. How about a ride with Connor morning show from his car? I know! He told me he did a little video from his car today. Crosby out and about. There you go. You never know where he's going to pop up. Maybe Crosby will record a video in a car park. A dogging site. I don't know. I don't know what he's up to be honest with you. But yeah, he was out and about, and I'd seen that video this morning. But like I said, thank you to Connor as well. So another little bonus we're going to have for you this weekend, as well as our watch-along, our post-match coverage, and our match reaction, etc. We're also going to make sure that we've got the Anfield Agenda podcast episode with myself, Connor, and Chris recorded and out for you guys Saturday night as well. So keep an eye out for that one. When's the match preview? It's out. It went out 4 o'clock today, my friend. It is up on the channel. So, of course, at your leisure, if you get a chance to have a look at it and let me know what you think. I just finished setting up for Big Up, said Clinton. Thank you, man. I'm going to wait till we hit a higher number of viewers before I give you the pitch for Big Up, because honestly, I think this is something you guys are going to enjoy. And I want to see if any of you are better than me as well. I like to think I've got some football knowledge, but Big Up, I guess, will test us all. But look, as I said, I will get to that in a moment. As you can see, though, if you do want to quickly go across and have a look for yourself before we get stuck into it, the QR code there is in the bottom corner of the screen. Ride with Craig, that's what I want to see. Do you know what? I think I'd do quite well driving around recording, but it would be something that'd be just off the top of my head kind of stuff, almost like Craig's roaming thoughts kind of thing. But the problem with that would be I'd have to go outside, and as we know, I don't really go outside too much. Stuart said, "I like your channel. It's the best I've seen." Mate, that means so much, Stuart. Thank you, bro. Really do appreciate that. Very kind words. So look, actually, do you know what? We'll do another ad read in a little bit, but I want to start taking you through the situation with Big Up because I'm excited by it and I want to give you guys a bit of a flavour of what it is. So bear with me. I'm going to play you a little video and I'm going to read you out exactly what you can get up to with us over on Big Up. So bear with me. Here we go. We're delighted to let you guys know that match days at Anfield Agenda, as I mentioned a little bit ago, are about to get even more exciting. We've teamed up with our friends at Big Up, a community platform where you can watch our streams and play an exciting new predictions game. Simply put, Predictions is a sweepstakes game where you can win some fantastic prizes and there's even a free-to-play option. For each Liverpool watch-along, we'll have a corresponding predictions game set up on Big Up. Simply download the Big Up iOS app or head to bigup.com and select the Anfield Agenda Spurs watch-along. Once you do that, just click on the Games tab as shown in the video. You'll see a list of 6 yes or no questions like Hugo Ekitike will score a goal, to which I've selected yes. Simply answer between 2 and 6 of the questions and you're all set. The more questions you select, the bigger your potential prize. Once you've made your picks, you just choose your entry amount and then decide if you'd like to pay the Power Play or the Flex Play version of the game. In Power Play, you must get every single selection correct to win a prize. However, in Flex Play, you can still win a prize even if one of your selections loses, although you must have a minimum of 3 selections. Right now is the perfect time to join because our friends at Big Up have 2 fantastic promotions running. Once you enter your first prediction game, you'll automatically receive $5 or 500 big bucks that you can use for future games or to donate to your favourite content creator. Plus, anybody that enters into a prediction competition will be automatically entered into a lucky draw for a magnificent $25,000. Each prediction game entry counts as an entry into the draw. The more prediction games you enter, the more chances you have to win the lucky draw. The draw winner will be announced at the end of the month and we look forward to making your match days more fun than ever. It is over 18s only and please remember to play responsibly. So that is a bit of a flavour on Big Up, and like we said, it's going to make your match days a little bit more fun. We will be dual streaming right on here and of course on Big Up. If you want to have a look at how best to interact with the predictions game, make sure you are over onto Big Up. And like I said, any questions, do my best and or ask me, and I will do my best to give you an answer. So thank you again to our friends at Big Up. We do look forward to this being a regular part of our match day format moving forwards. Craig, have you seen the comments about Chiesa and why Slot is unhappy? Yes, I have them here, and I will, actually, you know what, you brought it up, so why don't I read them out to you right now? Let me just find it in my notes, 1 second. Right, no, not that one, a different one, Craig. Let's keep going. Here we go. So yeah, Lewis Steele, speaking about Federico Chiesa and the Arne Slot situation, said this: Slot wouldn't mind me saying it, just doesn't seem like he trusts Chiesa. That's just a guess that I got because I know when they lost to Plymouth, Slot was furious with Chiesa. He was one of the senior players on that day and he just didn't seem to perform. A few people have said how frustrated Slot was. I just think that what Chiesa has to do is to prove to Arne Slot that he deserves a chance, because if you lose in every game, you can't get a game. Then you sort of think that maybe he doesn't like him at all. It seems to me like Chiesa could come off the bench and score every week and he still wouldn't play. And look, I don't think Lewis Steele is on his own. I don't. That's kind of the opinion that I have about the Federico Chiesa situation as well with Arne Slot. And dare I say, it's probably the same for you guys. And it feels unfair, right? It really just does feel unfair that he's not getting a fair crack of the whip. Oh, I love this one, man. Thank you. That's so kind of you, mate. Let's show some love tonight. Appreciate that. You know what, Victor? You guys are always incredible, very supportive, and we do appreciate your ongoing, continued support. So thank you, Victor, and I really appreciate your support, dude. I just saw you preview, and I want to let you know Szoboszlai is injured and might miss the game. My understanding, as I mentioned in the video, is that we believe he will be available for the game. Now, it isn't confirmed as of yet, but our understanding, as per James Pearce, is that the club are confident that Dominik Szoboszlai will be available for the game. As I mentioned, though, during the video, if he isn't there, most likely Alexis McAllister will come in. It's always so difficult when we do these previews because we put them out 2 days beforehand, and the manager only really does his press conference on the Friday. So if the game's on the Saturday, it just gives us the 1 day. So we kind of have to go with some of our own information and, keep our fingers crossed that that works out to be the case. But one thing that was wrong on the preview, which I didn't notice, but apparently Connor still had the Brighton game in the corner of it instead of it being the Spurs game. But either way, eagle-eyed viewers, always let us know, and thank you for that. Did you speak about the sentencing for Paul Doyle? No, I didn't. I wasn't on. I haven't been on for the last couple of days. But yes, Paul Doyle, the gentleman who was responsible for the horrendous incident at the Liverpool Victory Parade, was sentenced to 21 years in prison. And the judge was scathing. It's out there. You can have a look at it yourself. The judge was absolutely scathing, and rightly so, in his judgment and in his sentencing. And 21 years. And look, to this day, folks, it's still a miracle to me that nobody lost their lives that day. And I'm eternally grateful that they didn't. But it was a horrendous act. And from my understanding, from what I read from it, there was no intoxication, no drink, no drugs. It was just sheer anger and disgusting behaviour that led to that man doing what he did. And there was the brave actions of one man who got into the back of that Ford Galaxy. It was an automatic, shoved it into park, held it into position until people were able to come and get the car to a full stop and get it out. And that man, wow, talk about a hero. How many lives did that man save that day by jumping into the back of that Galaxy and holding it into park? I believe he's receiving a £250 award and a commendation from Liverpool City Council, which, what can I say? The man is what we all hope we would be in that moment, jumping in, putting himself at risk to save others. And that is exactly the Liverpool and the Scousers that I know. Honest, hard-working, good people who look out for anybody and anything. And it didn't surprise me at all to hear that it was a good Samaritan, a brave man like that jumped in to help to try and stop that car. So to that gentleman, if I ever see you, sir, you'll be getting a hug, a pint, and whatever else you want, because, people like him are what saved that day. Right. Let's get going. He'll never pay for a pint again in his life. Do you know what? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And he went for a pint with his brother, I think, afterwards to try and process the incident, just to kind of try to get their heads around what had happened. But yes, that sentencing hearing, as I said, has now happened in 21 years. And I hope he serves every single day of that 21 years. What do you think of the Upamecano rumours? Let me get to it in 1 second, my friend. Let me just grab it up here for you. Right, let's talk Dayot Upamecano. I gotta say, and I've been saying this for a while, I'm not in the Dayot Upamecano camp. I don't want them. I really don't. I don't want Upamecano at Liverpool. I don't think he's good enough. I said it at the time when we got Ibrahim Konate that I feel like we got the better Leipzig centre-back in that moment, and I'll only reiterate that now. I'm just trying to find my notes on this situation. 1 sec, let me just fly back through it. Where's my notes? Yeah, so Dave O.C. Kopp said, according to a new report from TZ München, Bayern Munich defender Dayot Upamecano has been offered to Liverpool. The French centre-back's contract expires in the summer and negotiations for renewal have hit a wall. Look, I'm not a huge fan of Upamecano. Never have been, never will be. So honestly, I'm not excited by that really. But I do want to lead into a conversation about Canade. And again, this is from Lewis Steele's reporting, because this kind of gives us an indication of maybe why he hasn't signed the contract extension. So Lewis Steele writes, Ibrahima Canade and Liverpool have been in talks over a new deal for nearly 18 months. So far, they've been very far apart. Canade wants to be recognised as one of the best players in the squad, one of the most important, and Liverpool aren't quite prepared to pay him the level that Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk and these sort of players are getting. Now look, I've got to say, I fully back the club's stance on that. 100%. There is no world, no way, no how, in my opinion, that Ibrahima Canade should be on Virgil van Dijk or Mohamed Salah type money. No way, no how, no chance. Not near it. Does he deserve an upgrade from his apparent 80 grand a week? Yes. I think most of us would say that's fair enough. But to want to be up there in the 200k plus range, madness. Absolute madness. Because honestly, he's not worth it. He's not worth it. I'd rather he stayed than he left. I've always said that. But he's not worth that kind of money. And I don't think he's going to get it elsewhere either. At least not anywhere that he'd want to challenge for trophies. Madrid ain't going to give it to him. Bayern Munich ain't going to give it to him. Because they, like Liverpool, will know that he's a good defender. But he's not a Virgil van Dijk level. He may get there in his career. But right now, I back Liverpool's stance of having a number they don't want to go past. Because, yeah, those type of numbers are crazy. Right, Bradley Warren, thank you, sir, for joining Anfield Agenda FC. Appreciate you. There was another link to a defender today, though, and this is where I'm going to ask you guys for a little bit of help. So Anfield Index, and shout out to our friends over at Anfield Index. Very, very, very good setup over there. Good friends of ours as well, so do check out the Anfield Index podcast and all the rest of the work. So they write that Liverpool are big fans of Celta Vigo defender Oscar MINGUEZA, whose contract expires in the summer. Now, folks, I don't know anything about Mr. MINGUEZA, so do tell me if you've watched them, what he's like. I know Celta Vigo are having a decent enough season. Usually they're, lower half of La Liga, kind of battling to stay into the league, but, is he decent? Would he... Yeah, would he fit in? I don't really know much about him. Stu said, on his day, Canade is a top player. Trouble is, he's been so hit and miss mainly since all his contract stuff. Yeah, I fully agree with you on that, Stu. Fully agree with you. I think, I think, like you said, mate, on his day, absolutely, really good defender. And look, that being said, I still do want them to stay at the club and sign a new deal. I just totally do understand if Liverpool are saying, like, nah, mate, if you want to be up there with, the Virgil van Dijk's, Mohamed Salah pay grade, then, performances have got to be better. Muldor, how are we, sir? Thank you so much. Said, Craig, glad you're back, mate, and hope your time away was restful. It really was. I got lots of sleep. And got a few bits and pieces sorted that I needed to get sorted. I still want him out mainly due to his player management. Chiesa, Rio, always playing Gakpo and Canade, just bad management and leadership. Look, I'm not convinced by Arne either, mate, and I still have a bit of a ways to go. But what I will say is very grateful to be unbeaten in 5, and we're certainly trending in the right direction. But I do think that there is more left to run in this situation. I'll move on to talk about the Salah stuff that's in the title in a moment, but I want to just draw your attention to something, actually. So, the way Chelsea played in the Club World Cup, and Cafe Solocol, I think, kind of made a bit of a cheeky dig saying that, Chelsea haven't been doing too bad with injuries because everybody was concerned, about the Club World Cup. Well, Now, Chelsea have experienced a 44% increase in injuries between June and October compared with the previous season. A report released on Tuesday has found this year's period covers their participation in the Club World Cup and its aftermath, and that's from the Guardian newspaper. So it certainly does seem as if the participation in the Club World Cup is already having an impact on fitness, and I think it's only going to get worse as the season goes on. Not just for Chelsea, of course, but for others that participated in it. This piece here, though, did just focus on the Chelsea aspect. Ryan sure said Thiago Silva on a free, temporary for 6 months for cover. No, mate, he's too slow. Look, what a defender! What a career! There's no denying the man's legacy and his brilliance. But for me, I'd say no on that one. But I can see where your head's at and why you're thinking it, because Thiago Silva is a modern great. So yeah, no disrespect intended for me. I just don't think it'd be a good fit. Paul, 11 months with us as a member. Paul, thank you so much. Lukeba from Leipzig, gonna cost but worth it. Yeah, there's been long links with us and Lukeba, but like you've said, expensive. Last figures I'd seen were around the 75-80 million euro bracket. But I do think he's a defender that's set for big things. Actually kind of surprised, Paul, to be honest, he's still there. There was lots of chatter in the summer that maybe somebody would kind of make a play, but good shout, mate. Good shout. Artem said, Craig, do you like Semenyo? It depends what you mean by like. As a guy, he looks like an absolute lovely fella. I know people who've spent time with him. Again, and they say, again, a very humble, lovely guy. As a player, look, I'm not sure where I'm at with the idea of Liverpool signing Antoine Semenyo. I can see some sense to it, but I'd need to know why. I'd need to know what the thought process of the signing is. Is it a Salah replacement? Because my instinct is that it would be a Chiesa replacement with the ability to play on either side. That's what my instinct on it is. And if my instinct is right, then yes, I'd absolutely take Antoine Semenyo. But if we're talking about him to become a Mohamed Salah replacement in the longer term, I'd be a little bit less sure, because I think we need to go a bit of a higher level, maybe the likes of Michael Elise, if possible in the future. But I certainly wouldn't be against Antoine Semenyo signing. Just wouldn't be tippity top on my list. We had this conversation the other day, particularly the discussion about him and Bradley Barcola, and it was an interesting one. Most of the viewers that we voted in the poll were about, I think it was 74% said they prefer Semenyo. Look, it's certainly not a signing that would make me unhappy in any way, shape or form, and I could understand the rationale for it. I just think my gut feeling tells me it would be more likely to be a Chiesa replacement than a Salah one. We aren't paying 65 million for a Chiesa replacement. And why not? Respectfully, why not? Because you've forgotten another aspect of it. We never replaced Diaz. And we got in that money. So you're talking about both sides need cover. You know what I mean? So Salah has no competition on the right. And on the left, well, we could say young Rio, but he's not getting game time either. So that's what I'm talking about. I think you've got somebody then that could come in and cover both sides, and that's why it would make a bit more sense to me. And I think you're thinking too simplistically number-wise, because just because Chiesa may only fetch us 10 million doesn't mean we won't want to spend more than that to bring in somebody who can cover maybe two positions and give us more depth. Just my 2 cents on it for what it's worth. Paul said, watching while I recover from kidney stone surgery. Your channel is always a great place with great people and content. Thoughts on Lukeba or Scalvini? I don't know much about Scalvini, so I'll have to hold my hands up on that one, Paul. And I wish you a speedy recovery. I had gallstones, mate, when I was, I'd been probably in my mid-20s at that point. And I swear to God, until I had the shoulder nerve pain, by far and away the most painful thing I've ever experienced, and I've heard the very same about kidney stones. So, yeah, speedy recovery, bro, and I hope you're back to yourself soon. Danny, how are we, my man? Craig, Guehi and Semenyo aside, name your ideal top two realistic signings. Also, you're a legend. Thank you. Elise would have to be right at the top of the list for a wide player. And as a centre back, I mean, look, my mind goes to Bastoni, but you did say realistic, so I like Nathan Collins. You know, I'm somewhat biased in that because he's Irish, but I do like Nathan Collins, and I think he's underrated. So he'd be somebody I'd be happy with. Um, I think, I do think we're all kind of overlooking Jarell Kwanzaa. Maybe not as somebody that's going to come in now because, of course, he's at Leverkusen, but we do have that clause and all agreed that if we want to bring him back. So I do think I'll see a world where he'll come back. And then what else am I needing? We need a DM. So Ederson, realistic. Wharton, realistic. Anderson, maybe somewhat less realistic. But yeah, any of those kind of names. Gallstones, that's what you pick up on a French beach, isn't it? Oh, honestly, Stu, I'm quite decent at taking pain. But when I had gallstones, there were sometimes I was curled up in a ball on the floor, man. Absolutely doubled over with pain, like it was horrendous. We can get Sula from Roma or Nico Paz, who's popping off this season as a Salah replacement. We don't need big names. Also, Schlotterbeck from Dortmund. Schlotterbeck's a great shout. Messidinho. But Bayern are also looking at him. So, we've competition there. I don't know much about Nico Paz because I don't watch Como and I don't watch Serie A, so I couldn't tell you. But, I've heard his name bandied about as a huge talent. So, what was the other one you mentioned, bro? Sula. Don't know. Wouldn't have an opinion on that one either. What else we got? Stiller is a good show. Yeah, Angelo Stiller is another very interesting name. He's been linked with ourselves and with Real Madrid over the past while. So certainly not a bad one. Adam said, off topic, but predictions for the AJ Jake Paul fight. Well, just as I was setting up the stream, I was looking at the weigh-in, and I seen AJ came in under the, what did he come in? He came 17 stone 5, I think, something like that. So he came in under his limit that he was set in his contract. So the fight's all good to go in that sense. I think 2 stone in the difference, roughly, with Jake Paul as well. Look, for me to sit here and say anything other than AJ should have him out of there inside 2 to 3 rounds would be silly, Yeah, how can it go any other way? I just don't see how it can. Everybody that steps in a boxing ring has a puncher's chance. But even at that, you just look at so many things against Jake Paul. Size, reach, professional levels. I just don't see anything other than a very convincing one-sided AJ stoppage. And then I hope to see AJ fight Tyson Fury at some point next year. But I'll say this. Say what we want, and we all have our take on Jake Paul. It takes one hell of a pair of balls to get in that ring. Because I'm telling you now, there isn't a number that will get me in the ring with AJ. And I like to think that I'm no shrinking violet. Even if you gave me 2 years of a camp to get ready, I wouldn't be getting in the ring with AJ. So I'll give Jake Paul that. He's got a massive pair of balls. But I can't see anything other than a very straightforward evening for AJ. Any plans for Christmas? We always go up to my wife's parents for Christmas Day, which is great because it means we don't have to do any of the cooking, Jordan Hunnable, how are we, bro? 19 months with us as a member as well, sir. Thank you. Evening all. Hope everybody is well. Nearly made it to Christmas. Hope everybody has a great time celebrating. Thank you, bro. Well, we're going to be taking off Christmas Day and well, we call it Stevens's Day. You guys call it Boxing Day. So we're going to be taking those 2 days off on the channel so we can both spend some time with our families. And we'll be back at it then, of course, from the 27th, because we've got a game against Wolves on the 27th. Will I be getting drunk at Christmas? I'm not really a drinker, no. Yeah, drink doesn't really do it for me. And I'm the type of guy that if I went and, let's say, went out and got drunk, I'm probably 2 days in bed. Certainly 2 days on the sofa getting over it. That, and I am a massive lightweight. Massive light. Like, I'd say 3 pints now and I'd be sideways. That's how little I drink. The last time I had a drink was myself and Sabrina were in Turkey just over a year ago. And I think one night we shared a bottle of vodka one night, I think. That's the last time I think I had a drink. Jan, panting, how are we, sir? Craig, do you think that Harvey and now possibly Chimika's coming back to Liverpool in January will leave less money for new signings? I mean, it's a fair question. I'm not really sure what's going on with the Costa situation. I know he's not really prospering under Gasparini, and I think they've already said that's not going to be made permanent. The Harvey Elliott one, all I feel on that is sympathy for Harvey. It just feels like a really shitty situation where he's now basically had to write off a year of his career unless he can come back to Liverpool and get some game time at Liverpool. And look, honestly, I think Arne Slot would be foolish to at least not run the rule over that possibility. If Villa are willing to send him back, because we know they're not going to trigger the clause to buy him, why not give him an opportunity? We could certainly do it, more bodies available to us, and we know how highly Harvey thinks of the club. So I wouldn't be against that for the remainder of the campaign, because the only other options open to Harvey are stay at Villa, come back to Liverpool, or go to a league that is on a different calendar, FIFA calendar, to the Premier League. Because he couldn't go to another club in Europe, he couldn't go to another club in England. He'd have to go to like the MLS, Saudi Pro League, Mexican League, which I think is maybe finishing up as well. So it's just a really shitty situation, unfortunately. How about a smoke of cannabis? Oh, well, that's a daily occurrence, bro. Do you know what I mean? That's, I don't think I'd be able to function as a human being without my herbal infusion of an evening, of a night time, I should say. Right, I know we need a CDM, Craig, but I still think Bajcetic, aka Badger Tits, can do a job for us going forward. Seems to be he's been forgotten. I think it's just the injury situation with him. We had an operation at the end of last season when he finished his time at Las Palmas. And that meant he'd no pre-season. And now he's been playing catch-up ever since. And he's not really been able to nail down a starting berth at all. But look, like you, Wayne, I rate the guy. And I mentioned at the start of the stream, Liverpool have high hopes from still as well. Lewis Steele also reported that Jeremy Frimpong will be back in full training in the next couple of days. If not next week. So looks like the Spurs game will come. Too early for him to be in the matchday squad unless something changes quickly. But we do have Connor Bradley back for that one, as we mentioned in the preview. I'm the same, Craig. Drinking just isn't actually that fun. I'd much rather have a cup of tea or coffee. And I'm also like, I'm a loud drinker as well. Like, and I get very smashy when I drink. I don't mean that like in a physical way. I mean, I literally like to break shit when I'm drunk. I don't know why. I just have this fascination with smashing shit when I'm drunk. Not in an aggressive way, not, anyone else's property. I don't know what it is. I just like breaking stuff. Yeah, I don't know. L Stew said, got stoned, age 14, walked home across a dark field. I knew and I was terrified. Yeah, but that's like, that's not the right way. You need a better environment than that, mate. But look, as I said, each to their own, man. Mohammed said, Craig, I'm a Jordanian and I'm devastated to see my team lose the Arab Cup final against Morocco. But trust me, you should watch the highlights because it's literally one of the most fun finals. Appreciate that. I'll certainly try to have a look at it, mate. And commiserations on losing the final, but well done as well on getting to the final. Right, let's keep going. Lots more to talk about. Let's talk about Marc Guehi. So, it almost feels as if Lewis Steele is backing up pretty much what I said to you guys. So I'd said, I think it was 3-4 weeks ago now, that my information was that Marc Guehi had given his word that he would join Liverpool. Now, Lewis Steele said something similarly without kind of being as, I guess, forceful with it as I was. So, Lewis Steele said, I still think Liverpool have a really good chance of signing Marc Guehi. I just wonder if there's an under-the-table gentleman's agreement between Liverpool and Guehi from the 1st of September or whatever date it was that they were literally that close for signing him. And that's pretty much what my information has been as well, that there is that agreement. But football is a mad time. So, mad sport, so we got to see what happens. Anybody can come in and reverse a truckload of cash down. So, I need to talk for a second about Oliver Glasner, because I think he's been a bit of a hypocrite. So, Oliver Glasner believes that Marc Guehi will see out his contract and stay at Crystal Palace to the end of the season. The funny thing about this is he's had a lot to say about Marc Guehi's time at Palace, his contract, the summer, but has been evading signing a new deal himself as the Crystal Palace manager. So maybe he should stop talking about Marc Guehi and what Marc Guehi should do with his career, and maybe start telling the Crystal Palace fans whether he's going to stay at the club or not. Because, I'm sure they'd like to know whether their manager is going to stay. His deal's also up in the summer. So maybe a bit less talking about Marc Guehi there, Mr. Glasner, and a little bit more talky about your own contract situation. Angela, how are we? Great to see you back, Craig. Really missed you. Thank you. Normally I say I really regret it. A couple of days off and I missed everyone, but I really needed them, so it feels like it was the right thing to do. I always miss you guys when I'm not streaming, but I needed it. I badly needed it, and I was able to get plenty of sleep as well. Dude, are you telling me you wouldn't get in the ring with AJ for 100 million? I am absolutely telling you that, yes. Because what use is 100 million to me if I don't know my own name and can't eat with a spoon and have to eat through a straw? Yeah, I've no interest in getting my face rearranged by AJ. So yes, I can say to you 100 million I would still pass up on it, because no point in having money if I don't know what money is and can't remember my own name. Guehi and Semenyo would be so underwhelming. Really? I don't know, man. Marc Guehi, not at all, to me, would be underwhelming. Semenyo, look, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but I think it's still sensible, depending on the context of why he's comes in. But I don't see anything underwhelming about Marc Guehi at all, to be honest. Right, so I'm not going to give you the full big up spiel at the minute, but I do want to show you my picks for big up this week in the predictions game, and let me know what you think. So hang on. So these are my picks for big up. I've picked 4 questions personally, and I've said, will Hugo Ekitike score a goal? I've gone for he will indeed on that one. Florian Wirtz to score a goal or have an assist? I've said yes, that's going to happen. Richarlison will score or have an assist? Obviously, I've said no. I'm not having Richarlison scoring or assisting against us. And there will be over 2.5 goals in the match. I've gone for yes as well. So as you can see, me playing the power play game, my 500 big bucks or $5 would give me a prize of $37.50 if those 4 come up correct. So again, any questions that you guys do have or anything like that, please fire them over to me and I will do my best to let you know. Remember, it is 18 plus and we always want anybody to play games responsibly. Mr. Bransfield, how are we? I could pick Harvey up at the airport and he can come play here in Sweden. Nice. Are you on a different calendar? I don't actually know what calendar the Swedish league runs on, Mr. Bransfield. But man, I just feel so bad for Harvey. I really do. I feel so bad for him. Can I play big up from India? To the best of my understanding, Pranav, I don't know is the correct answer. I'm not going to give you false information. I don't know. Best thing to do is to go to bigup.com and have a look that way. Or download the iOS app if you're an iOS user like myself. And I will do another breakdown of it later on for people before we finish up tonight's stream. But it is going to be part of our matchday experiences, so we're going to be dual streaming, of course, on YouTube and on Big Up. And on Big Up, you'll be able to see the league table of the predictions, and you'll be able to see quite how awesome I am, really. What did I think of the FIFA awards? Oh, the FIFA Best Awards. Yeah, kind of makes sense. I was looking at, like, can someone explain to me how Cole Palmer got into the 11, though? Like, that's the only part of that FIFA Best thing that I was thinking, how? Like, how did Cole Palmer get into the FIFA Best? How? I don't get it. I say this quite often. I think he's overhyped. I really... I'm not saying he's not a good player, but, like, yeah, they won the Club World Cup. Fair enough. Conference League? You're really getting into a FIFA Best off a fucking Conference League? I don't know. It just... Yeah, that was the only real obvious no for me from that. Dembele winning it, not unusual if you win the Ballon d'Or as well. Cole Palmer has a great PR team. I feel that way. Look, like I said, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not trying to sit here and say Cole Palmer isn't top notch, but I just don't think he's as good as he's being made out to be. Mark said, what's your thoughts on the future of Anfield? Would you be happy with further expansion to 75 or a brand new 90, 100,000 seater stadium? So, Mark, this answer always gets me in trouble because I'm not one for sentiment. It's just the way I'm wired. I'm not really sentimental. I like shiny new things. So, you know the way a lot of people would see a house and they'd see this old house that needs a bit of TLC, but they'd love all the original features, the fireplaces, the cornicing. I'm not that guy. I want shiny, sterile, brand new. Nobody else has ever shit in the toilet. Nobody else's dirt has been anywhere. Pristine. So for me, I was somebody who wanted the stadium built in Stanley Park. And I wanted Anfield to be reincorporated into the new stadium and its surrounding. That being said, with what we have now, the only sensible option at this point will be to try and extend. But there are drawbacks with that. And look, I'm no planner, so I'll tell you the little bits I do know. Once you go above what we currently do, you then have to start looking at infrastructure. So travel to get to and from the game. Is there enough public transportation? You'd probably have to look at reopening that train line, is it, that went past? Then you have to talk about the likes of noise pollution for the residents in and around. And there's just so many things that make it. And this was my understanding of when they were upgrading what they currently were. That much bigger than that required a hell of a lot more investment in infrastructure and other stuff in and around it. But, I don't think we're finished seeing the extension of Anfield. I do think, was it Greybeard Media? Is that the gentleman? I keep forgetting his name. I don't know if it's Redbeard Media, Greybeard Media. I can't remember the man's name. But he always does really, really good videos in and around it with some drone footage showing you the housing and stuff around there. Yeah. So, definitely say give that man's content a watch. Far better verse to walk you through than I am. Greybeard, yeah, that's the guy. He's brilliant. Yeah, definitely give him a watch. And he'll, walk you through it. And he does regular updates and stuff like that, I believe, as well. Salah and Rafinha both get numbers close to Messi and Ronaldo, and they still don't make the 11. And also both won bigger major trophies. Look, I was a bit surprised that Salah wasn't in that FIFA Best 11. I'm not going to lie, I was. But, you know, I probably would say that as a Liverpool fan, wouldn't I? You know, and a biased one at that. Boeing Zibidi said, we cannot expand anywhere until the new transport works of 3 billion in 27 and 28. 5 new stations with 3 already started. Yeah, see, that kind of plays into what I was saying. My understanding was that if you go much above that 60 odd K mark, these type of things do have to come into play. William Slane said, hi Craig, how are you? And I hope you're well. And being said tonight, thank you, bro. I'm okay, thank you. Feel a bit better after a couple of days rest. So, what poll do I want to ask? Trying to figure out a poll. Give me a poll suggestion, because we haven't had a poll yet on the stream, and I feel grubby. It feels weird not having a poll up. I have more news to get through, and I will have a news video coming up tonight as well after the stream. So I started a bit early so I can finish a few minutes early and get that news video out for you guys later. So if you did miss any part of the show or any of the subjects we go through, we'll compile it all in a video for you later. Will Isak sign poll? Oh, those were the days, bro. Those were the days. And Kane was left out as well. Yeah, that's bloody scandalous. How was Harry Kane left out? That's scandalous. Will Wirtz come good, Paul? See, Stu, mate, I'd argue he already is. You know, I'm a fierce defender of Florian Wirtz, because I do think... I look, I know we're all tempted to look at the goals and assists. That's fair. But I'm seeing it. And I know you're a very positive person as well, Stu, so you're probably in the same mindset. Yeah, I think he's already showing that he's getting in that direction. What about building vertical? Maybe do the meadow help with the noise? I don't know. I think when we're talking about noise pollution, I don't think it's necessarily just the noise inside the stadium. I think it's, you know, fans to and from the games and stuff like that as well. But like I said, I'm certainly not qualified to go in depth into that answer. There are people far better placed. Right, sorry, I'm trying to read through some of your answers here on a potential poll. So what else we got? Did I see Ornstein's post today? I'll need a bit more context than that, to be honest with you. I see a lot of posts in a day. Hey Craig, you wished me good luck and I helped. I went on to draw the game and get an honourable mention. Oh. Hang on 1 second. Where is it? So, if you guys are in the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp community, which I think a lot of you probably are, I posted in the GoFundMe link in there for the young MMA fighter that I was talking about. So we're sponsoring Adam and his brother, and they have been selected to represent Ireland at the European Championships. Now, Adam Duffy has won European national championships, and this dude is honestly, in my humble opinion, going to go all the way to the UFC. But we want to help support Adam and his brother. They're twins, and we want to make sure that they can get over to Serbia to take part in the European Championships, because they receive absolutely no funding. Now, I will put the link in here now in a moment to share with you guys, or maybe somebody can grab it from the WhatsApp for me. But if you guys, instead of sending me a super chat or something like that, could make a small donation in there, that would be hugely appreciated. Anfield Agenda, we put €1,000 into it to kick it off. and he needs to get up to €3,500. I'm going to be doing an event here in Gorey as well, in one of the local pubs, to help raise money for the event as well. We're going to be doing a few other bits and pieces. I'm going to bring Adam on for an interview on the channel, so you guys can see what I've seen and quite how impressive the young man is. So yeah, that would be hugely appreciated if you can. I'm just trying to find it here. See if I can get the link for you. 1 second. Let me see if this works. 1 sec. Yeah, there you go. So the GoFundMe link has gone into the chat, but I don't think it's gone in as a link, so I'm going to have to remove it. Yeah, it hasn't gone in as a link. Bollocks, why can't I get this in properly? Bear with me, folks. Why isn't this opening up? Oh, I'm so bad with links, lads. I'm so bad. Come on, open up. Open up, you idiots. Open up. Oh, I'm so bad, lads. Sorry, I'm so bad. Mark's put it in, I think. Or Keane's done it. Yeah, cool. So yeah, if you can, do go there, and instead of sending me a super chat, if you can make a small donation. This kid's super impressive, right? He's doing his leaving certificate. He's in 6th year, doing his leaving certificate. Messages me at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning when he's up going for runs, weightlifting. This kid is so legit, and I've never been as impressed with a youngster as I am with this kid. He deserves any support he can get. And again, we really do appreciate your ongoing support. Right, on a poll, let's go. Let's get the poll question up for you. I have an idea for a poll. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So, should slot stick with the 4-4-2 diamond? Because for me, I like this system with the personnel that we currently have available. As I mentioned when I discussed the system before, I think in the system, it's pivotal to have very high energy fullbacks that can get up and down the flanks, which is why I think Kirkes and Bradley are more than suited to it. So yeah, for me, I like the system. I'm not sure what he does when everybody's back available and he has more wingers and stuff, but certainly for now, I'd be right behind it, especially if it helps us keep a few clean sheets. Mark said you and Keane did the same thing by using the WhatsApp link, had to use the Discord one. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you bailing me out on that one, bro. Do post it in every so often, Mark, into the chat for me if you can, because if somebody misses it, then they can find it next time around. Oscar MINGUEZA sounds like Endo and Chimika's signing. Look, I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. That's why I was asking you guys earlier on for a little bit of help. I don't really know too much about Oscar MINGUEZA at all. Andy said, good to see you back, Craig. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Stu said, I'm an honest man. I take a lot of content creators with a pinch of salt, but the reason this is the only channel I give money to is because I know you support local kids' ambitions. Not bad, that. Thank you so much, Stu, man. Look, as you know, we sponsored the kit to Courtown Hibs. We're sponsoring another set of kits after Christmas to them as well, to another age group. And me and Connor feel very passionately about giving back to our local sporting community, which we've done outside of our own communities as well. Like, if I can give you just a quick rundown of some of the stuff we've done over the years to make sure that we represent our community the right way. We've bought shirts for kids. We've bought Christmas presents. We've donated money to food banks. We've, helped raise the money for Joe's wheelchair. We've bought the set of kits for Courtown Hibs. We're now helping get Adam to where he needs to be, and we're going to offer him continued support going forward. These are the type of things that we're fortunate enough to be in a position that we can add something to these situations. And And honestly, I couldn't be more deserving. You know, when I went down to Courtown Hibs to meet the kids and the coaches, it was just incredible. You know, to see people giving up their time, kids out there exercising, being happy, meeting each other. You know, making friends. It's you know, it's what it's all about, isn't it? See, sport's been a huge part of my life, and I said something simple when we sponsored the kits for the guys. When I was 8, and you know what? I've got a picture of it, so I'm going to show you. When I was 8, somebody sponsored us a set of kits when I first started playing football, and to this day, I've never forgotten it. I've never forgotten that somebody did that for us, and we were lucky enough to have a couple of them over the years growing up. And I know when it happened to me, I felt like somebody gave a shit. You know, somebody cared enough to go out there and get us a set of kits so we could go out and represent our local community in Shankill well. And ironically, we did win the league that year, but it always stuck with me. So it's always something we wanted to do. And I have the picture here, actually. 1 second. Let me just drag this one out for you. So yeah, that's the picture there. From when I was 8 years of age, my first season playing football. And at that point, I hadn't even moved to become a goalkeeper yet. So if you're looking at the goalkeeper thinking that's me, it's not. I am the second guy in from the left and the back row in that picture. And that Land Shapes kit, that Adidas kit there, the man in the black jacket sponsored that kit for us. And to this day, I've never forgotten it. I've never forgotten it. And when the channel started doing well, that was something we wanted to do, was make sure that we gave a little bit back. Ironically, yes, Mark, I am the one with the big hair in that picture. That's not a conversation we'll be having very often, bro, is it? Craig's the one with the big hair. I had hair. I still do have hair, Ben. That's the irony of all of this, bro, is I'm bald by, I would say by choice, but let me be fairer about that. I'm bald by my wife's choice. What was the team called? That team there was Bellevue Shankill. That's who I played most of my youth football with. I played for Bellevue Shankill, I played for Bushy Park Rangers, and I played for St. Joseph's Boys in Sallynoggin. But yeah, that was my first ever year playing football. Are there any more skilled, better defenders that might be considered rather than Guehi? Do you not rate Marc Guehi? Honestly, I think Marc Guehi's a really good defender. Genuinely, I think he's probably England's best centre-back. And I just don't see... And he's homegrown, so you have that aspect as well. And he's, 25 years of age. So he's right in coming into his prime. Yeah, look, I know there are some drawbacks. I remember speaking with David Lynch a long time ago, and we were discussing Marc Guehi. And one of the things that we were both concerned about was his aerial prowess, because he's a few inches shorter than the likes of Canade and Virgil. But that aside, I think he's blossomed into somebody who comes across as a natural leader, a very calm, composed defender, and one that, honestly, I think would be more than good enough to represent the Reds. Honestly, Lacroix might be better out of the Palace centre-backs. When Maxime Lacroix left, was it Wolfsburg? Is that where he came from? Pardon me if I'm wrong on that. I think he was one defender whose name did come up in a fleeting way, but nothing more ever really came of it. Sonder said, Adam Wharton wins us the league next season, in my opinion. Well, on him, let me just give you... there was a little bit on Adam Wharton today, mate, so let me just read that through for you. Where is it? Where's the bit on Adam Wharton that I had? Yeah, here we go. So Lewis Steele said, on Adam Wharton potentially joining Liverpool, he said, nothing imminent. I can't see Liverpool signing a midfielder in January, but I think Adam Wharton certainly has admirers at Anfield, and he could be one to watch for the summer. So I think any of us getting up any hopes for a DM in January, according to Lewis Steele anyway, that's looking unlikely. Paddy Wacker said, Craig, you remind me of someone who cares about our children and our country. Your generosity reminds me of Roy Keane, always helping. Not many people know the charity work he does. Look, I think it's simple for me, mate. I was on my arse once upon a time. And I mean, on my arse, nowhere to live, in huge debt. Had lost my dad, was... Yeah, fuck it, I'll say it. I had an issue with drugs. Not hard drugs, mind, but an issue nonetheless. And I got help. I got help from few people. And I always swore that if life ever gave me an opportunity to repay the kindness that I was shown, because if that hadn't happened, I don't know where I would have ended up. But people helped. And I always swore to my wife, if we ever got a chance, ever, we're repaying it. And we're going to keep doing that and keep doing it, because I'm a simple dude. Like, I don't live a flashy lifestyle. I like my good food, and I like, I want to buy this house for our family. But after that, I don't give a fuck. Like, if I'd give away half what the channel makes, I don't care. If it's for something worthwhile, and I know Connor's the same, we're more than happy to do it. Because I don't just talk about this being a community, I mean it. This is way more to me than a business or anything. This is personal, and if it's the right thing to do. Who are the match officials for Saturday? 1 second, dude. I do have those in my notes. Let me read them out for you now. So, match officials for Saturday. And by the way, this is a new section that we're putting into our previews on the channel. I can't believe it's not something I've done before, by the way, so do it on me. But yeah, so the referee is John Brooks. His assistants are Simon Bennett and James Mainwaring. Fourth official, Anthony Taylor. The one that you should be worried about, in my opinion, is VAR, which is Stuart Atwell. And assistant VAR is Adam Nunn. So yeah, they're the officials for the game on Saturday. And remember, it's a 5:30 kickoff. Faults in ourselves don't define who we are. It's how we rectify those faults. Look, for me, it was... look, I'll be honest with you. My dad died, and it was a very acrimonious death all around inside the family and division. He drank himself to death. And he was my hero. And it hit me really hard. And my mum fucked me out of the house after my dad died, because I'd stayed at home to look after my dad, and they separated and she moved away. So it was almost like some type of punishment or something, that I chose him in her eyes. I don't know what. But she threw me out of the house. And that was the day of his funeral. Fucked out of the house. And it hit me hard. And, I leaned on prescription medication that I had been given, and I leaned into it quite heavily. And I ended up with drug-induced psychosis. And I ended up in St. John of God's in Slorgan in a lockdown ward. And, if I said to myself that then I'd be here now doing, this, I didn't think it was possible. But I've never been embarrassed by it, nor will I ever be embarrassed by it, because, that's life. Shit happens. I'm not perfect. I struggled, but I didn't give up. And that's the only important part, is I didn't give up. So yeah, I feel like it's important to pay it forward now. I got a break in life, and I want to help others like Adam, that young man I was talking about, who, God almighty, I've never seen a more zoned in young lad, so focused on what he wants to do with his life. So yeah, simple things like that. If we can help a little bit, let's do it. Luke said, "We're here for you, brother." It's all good, my man. It's all good. Those were the darker days. That's in the past. Cherky prop on X is funny. Zidane regen apparently. And look, Cherky's a decent player. But the thing that I love to say to those City fans or anyone who is hyping him up, saying if Liverpool wanted Cherky, we'd have got him because he was begging to come. And Liverpool obviously went and signed Florian Wirtz, which is who Man City wanted as well. But, look, fair play. Cherky's going to be a decent player, but again, there's levels, and I think Florian Wirtz is going to show over time that he's just so clear. Proud of you, mate. Well done. Cheers, man. Thank you. Right, more news. More news to get through. More footy news. Troy Deeney. Lads, I feel dirty. Because I'm about to agree with Troy Deeney again. I know, I apologise. I do. It's happened once before. I think I scrubbed it all off. But now I'm agreeing with him again. So I feel a bit grubby. So Troy Deeney's been speaking about Hugo Ekitike. And he said, the most underrated striker in the Premier League. 2 goals in back-to-back games. The kid scores. He comes off after 70 minutes for Isak. Fantastic signing. He'll be pushing Erling Haaland all the way for the most goals. The kid is mustard. He's the real deal. Another one, he'll be looking at the World Cup and thinking he's got to go. He can play off the left-hand side with Kylian Mbappe for France. Fair. Fair play to Deeney on that one. Look, I can't say for anybody else, but I didn't think Ekitike was going to be this seamless in how he fits in. And I don't just mean to the Premier League. I mean with Liverpool, with the culture, with everything about Liverpool. He just gets it. And fans see that so quickly. So yeah, that's been great to see. And again, fair play, Troy Deeney. I don't disagree with him. Mark said Troy Deeney making sense. What in the world are we coming to when he's right? I know it's nuts. It is nuts. So Carragher, this is one part I picked out of a bit of a transcript from Carragher on, I think it was the latest edition of the Overlap podcast or something. So asked if Salah will leave the club in January, Jamie Carragher said, "I think if Liverpool get the money that they want, they probably will. I think they'll think they don't want the hassle. I'd love him to stay, and I think he can have a better send-off and have an impact between now and the end of the season." Just kind of got me thinking. I do 100% think the Salah situation isn't over with, but I still don't know where I'm at with regards to whether he goes in January or the summer. I do think he goes in the summer at the latest. I really do at this point. But with January, I don't know. I don't know where I am with that one. I can't quite get a read on how I think this pans out. Bradley said, "I love this channel and this community of good people that you and Connor have gathered together. Proper content. Cheers." Yeah, man, thank you. I've been almost too strict since day one because I've wanted the right people in our community, and every night I come on here I get to interact with people that teach me so much about myself and each other, and kindness and humility, and football most importantly as well. So thank you, Bradley, that means a lot, bro. Did you watch the day in the life of Hugo on the Liverpool YouTube channel? I watched a couple of videos on All Red yesterday. I don't think I watched the day in the... do you know what I watched, actually? I watched the whatchamacallit, the match day stuff from the Brighton game, and I never got round to watching the Hugo one. But I'm definitely I seen he was walking along the beach or something in one part of it, but I definitely will watch it, but I haven't got round to it yet. In all honesty, I kind of just switched off from a lot of football over the last day or two. Right, so, ladies and gentlemen, one last time, just in case you're coming in wondering what this big, sexy, big up thing is in the bottom corner, let me just play this for you and give you a bit of a rundown on how we'll be making your match days even better. So, we're delighted to let you know that match days at Anfield Agenda are about to get even more exciting. We've teamed up with our friends at Big Up, a community platform where you can watch our stream and play an exciting new predictions game Simply put, predictions is a sweepstakes game where you can win some fantastic prizes, and there's even a free-to-play option. For each Liverpool watch-along, we'll have a corresponding predictions game set up on Big Up. Simply download the Big Up iOS app or head over to bigup.com and select the Anfield Agenda versus Spurs watch-along. Once you do that, just click on the Games tab as shown in the video. You'll see a list of 6 yes or no questions like, Hugo Ekitike will score a goal, to which I've answered yes. Simply answer between 2 and 6 of the questions and you're all set. The more questions you select, the bigger your potential prize. Once you've made your picks, then just choose your entry amount and then decide if you'd like to pay the Power Play or the Flex Play version of the game. In Power Play, you must get every single selection right to win a prize. However, in Flex Play, you can still win a prize even if one of your selections loses, but you must have a minimum of 3 selections. Right now is the perfect time to join because our friends at Big Up have 2 fantastic promotions running. Once you enter your first prediction game, you'll automatically receive $5 or 500 big bucks that you can use for future games or to donate to your favourite content creator. Me. Plus, anyone that enters into a prediction competition will automatically be entered into a lucky draw for a magnificent $25,000. Yes, you heard me right, 25k. Each prediction game entry counts as one entry into the draw. The more prediction games you enter, the more chances you have to win the lucky draw. The draw winner will be announced at the end of the month, and we look forward to making your match days more fun than ever. Over 18s only, and please remember to play responsibly. And thank you again to our friends at Big Up. Right, thank you very much for your attention. Right, let's go. El Sacco with Arna and Frank. Spurs are so bad. Do you know what? On that, Sonder, right? On the El Sacco thing, I've been reading quite a bit from Spurs fans and some articles around Thomas Frank. And here's what I don't get. They moan about the style of football. What do they expect from Thomas Frank? You know, he has a style of football that is kind of very different to Ange, let's say, for a start. But also, you know, I know Spurs fans want this free-flowing, attacking football, but you were never getting that with Thomas Frank. This is why I'm so confused about what the gripe about the style is. Now, the results, that's a different conversation. You can say that the home form hasn't been good enough, and it hasn't. But, yeah, it's confusing one for me, mate, on why they're moaning about the style, because, you know, it was pretty clear what style he was going to play with when he came in. Giant Gift said, Canada down tools, and yes, I'd still keep him. They all read the same playbook, pretending to try when they're thinking about contracts. I just don't see a world where Canada can genuinely think that he deserves Van Dijk level money. I just don't, mate. Does he deserve a pay rise and a healthy one? Yes, 100%. But does he deserve 250, 300 grand a week? Not a chance. Not a chance, in my opinion. So, Gary Neville, speaking about Mohamed Salah, said, Salah will not sit down and watch Gakpo play football. These players don't sit and watch players that are inferior. That was a pretty interesting one. And a pretty good take as well. Because he's not wrong, is he? You know? And I like Cody Gakpo. But it's a fair point to make that Salah ain't going to sit there and watch Cody Gakpo playing week in and week out on the bench and be happy about it. So I kind of get where Neville's coming from. Keane just dropped this into me, and it's an Indie exclusive, and I don't know where they get this as an exclusive because we've talked about this for weeks and it ain't an exclusive from us either. Liverpool have opened contract talks with Dominic Szoboszlai. Liverpool know that clubs in world football will seize any opportunity to sign the Hungarian if he becomes available. I don't know how that's breaking news. You know, we talked about that weeks ago and others have reported on it before us as well. So, but it's still welcome news. Let's talk about Nico Shearer's reporting about a Gremio wonder kid that Liverpool are looking at. So Transfer News Live posted to say Liverpool are looking at Gremio wonderkid winger Gabriel Mech. The 17-year-old has previously been compared in style to Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. and currently represents Brazil at youth international level. He is known for his ability to play on both flanks with ease. Now, I do love a Brazilian wonder kid, and I do love the hype that comes along with potentially signing one, but we've lost out on a lot of talent from Brazil, Argentina to other clubs in the Premier League in Europe recently. And it is one part of the world that I do think we're lagging behind in. I know we have scouts, and I know that we know the quality of players that are over there, but look at the likes of Estevao that went to Chelsea. Enzo Fernandez before that. Julian Alvarez seems like an incredible bargain when he came from River Plate in Argentina across to Man City. So keep an eye on it. If anything more comes of it, of course, we'll bring it up and let you know on the channel. Lewis Steele also said that talks are underway for a new deal for Alexis McAllister, but they're very preliminary at this stage. So again, not trying to say that that's close, but at least under consideration. So I've kind of saved one of the biggest things for tonight till the latter part of the stream, and I want to read it out to you because it gives an insight into potentially why Salah's unhappy. So let me read this out to you and we'll go from there. So Lewis Steele reports, from conversations I had in the last 10 days to 2 weeks, this is deeper issue than Salah just being benched. Although Salah wouldn't ever say it, I don't think he was overly convinced by the summer business and how Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak were being named as the players to carry Liverpool forward. The Frankfurt game away, he came off the bench late on and he could have settled it by rolling across to Florian Wirtz, but he didn't. He looked frustrated at full time, and that was the night he deleted all mention of Liverpool Football Club from his Twitter profile. This wasn't something that happened like that, and the frustration was building. There's a lot to unpack there, isn't there? I don't know, firstly, why Salah would have any concern about Isak and Wirtz being talked about as the future of the Liverpool team. Because regardless of what Salah thinks there, he's not going to be the future of the Liverpool team. He'll be here, but he's not the future of it. He's certainly been the past, a big part of the present, but, it's no secret that the man's getting older. So I've no idea where that comes from. And this is almost echoing some of the sentiment that was posted from some of the German outlets that said that Salah does have an issue with Wirtz. We all remember the incident where he doesn't square it. We remember that, right? We've talked about it numerous times where there was an incident that if he had rolled it across, there was a tap in for Wirtz and he would have been off the mark, and he didn't. So I don't know if this is something and nothing but I said something a few days ago and I'm going to stand over it again. I don't for 1 second think the Salah situation's over. I don't. I just don't. He's going to go to the AFCON. Liverpool are going to carry on playing. If Liverpool continue winning, the argument to not put Salah back into the team grows straight away. His frustration, I'm sure, will grow. And then how do you drop players to put Salah back in if they're winning when he comes back? And he's not, as Gary Neville said again, he ain't going to sit there on the bench and be happy about it, is he? So I don't think this is over by a long way. I think it ended as well as we could have hoped with the way he came on for Joe Gomez, the way we won the game, the way Salah got an assist. But I've never ever believed it was over, because whether we want to admit this or not, he is very much about him. And again, that's not unnatural for a top sports person. Michael Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo, many others. I say it not as a way to knock Mo, because you don't get to be Mo without having that belief and self-drive. But when Carragher said that he only talks when he needs something or something for him, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And this is where the Salah FC brigade will come in to say, Craig, you're a racist, or would you say that if he was English, and blah, and all the other crap that we've all had to put up with over the years. But, you know, two things can be right at once. And Salah, his legacy cemented and earned, and very well earned. But I think what Gary Neville said is right. He ain't going to just sit on the bench. He's not. And let me bring you back to what Carragher said, which was basically that Liverpool, if the money was there in January, would probably take it to kind of get rid of the problem. Because I do think it is going to be a festering problem. And why did Salah come out to say what he said? Everybody's going to have their own take on this, right? And none of us know who's right and wrong. But there's one part of what he said, or one part of the reasoning for what he said, that I think personally is right. And I think he judged that he potentially had the clout to put the final nail in Arne Slot's coffin as Liverpool manager. And I think he misjudged that. That's my take on it. Because I think in any of these situations, whatever we think of the player, the manager, there's only one outcome for the club. And that club is always going to have to back the manager, at least publicly. They have to. If you don't do that, you're weak. You look weak. You look tin pot. So I've never felt it's over. I was very relieved and grateful how it finished, you know, at the weekend against Brighton. You know, it kind of felt like a best case scenario all around. But I do think this will rear its ugly head again. Craig, here's a poll. Do people believe Salah is ruining his reputation at Liverpool? See, mate, I don't want to put that poll up because I don't think there's any way Salah's reputation at Liverpool can or should be ruined. I don't. I think this is in my head a little bit more simplistic. And I've tried to explain this numerous times, but people just get angry at me over it. I think Salah has an internal battle that any player that comes to this point in their career will have at a certain level, is an unwillingness to admit a drop-off or their father time is catching up with them. Because they're so used to being the guy, they want to help the team by being the guy, but somebody else, in this case Arne, is seeing something in him that has dropped off that Salah isn't seeing or doesn't want to see. And I think it's just a collision of that. And I never believed that Salah was going to be somebody who'd be happy to play 6 out of every 10 games or come off the bench. I just never, ever believed that. But his legacy, like I've said, this is the really sad part of the conversation, is when people try to say that me or anybody else that will be in any way critical is trying to throw him under the bus. Not so. His reputation's incredible. His reputation's well earned. His legacy's secure. And the fear that I and many other Liverpool fans have is none of us want this to end in a bitter way. Nobody. It needs to end the right way, with respect to Mo, respect to the club, and an honouring of what he gave to the club. Nobody wants Mo to leave like Hendo left. You know, he has to go with the huge gratitude he deserves and the respect that his era deserves. But he also has to have, I think, somewhat a recognition that maybe things are, you know, starting to change at Liverpool a bit. Salah needs to stop being a baby, said Sonder. I don't back Slot or Salah, only the club. We'll never forget what he has done for us, but we don't live in the past. Yeah, look, I think Salah can contribute something to the current team, but I don't think he should be starting every single game anymore. I just don't. Because you know, he does have a loss in certain attributes. He's gained in others. I think his set pieces and his passing has increased and gotten better. But like I said, I just don't see a world where because you know what we didn't hear anywhere, and I mean anywhere. Not one person reported that there was an apology issued. We heard that there was a shaking of hands. We heard that there was an easing of hostilities to some extent, but we never heard that there was an apology. Not once. Again, I don't think that's an accident. So, Lewis Steele's also been speaking about Canade a little bit, and he said Ibrahim Kanade's hand has been significantly weakened by his performances this season. However, Liverpool are not likely to withdraw any offer, with the club set to take a more measured approach. They still think he's one of the best defenders in Europe. So again, it's trying to strike that balancing act between maybe what Canade thinks he's worth and what Liverpool feel he's worth. Right, so I asked, should Liverpool stick with a 4-4-2 diamond? We're nearly at 1,000 votes, so if you can, please do vote. We only need about 45 more. And then I'll move on to a Salah question to finish up. So give me an idea of a Salah poll, and we'll try and get one on the go. What's your opinion on Semenyo to United? So to my understanding, I don't think United can bring in Semenyo, and here's why. I'm not saying they couldn't attract him or he wouldn't go there, but United made a decision in the summer to strengthen their front line, and they put a lot of money into it, to Cunha, to Mbeumo, and to Šeško. And the reason I don't think United are going to be in the mix for Antoine Semenyo, especially if he moves in January, is because they know that their need is in the centre of the park. And they know that they're going to have to probably fork out a lot of money for a Carlos Baleba or somebody, an Anderson, a Wharton, somebody of that ilk. And with United's finances as they are, I just don't think they have the wiggle room to do two big signings like that. So I think they're less likely on Semenyo. I know their name's been bandied around, but I just think the need is elsewhere, and it's in the centre of the park for them. Right, I'll get on to Hippo Critics question in a sec. I just want to get this poll up. Right, we need 10 more votes and then we can move on to a Salah poll. So just quickly, United's finances are fine. They're looking at both. Yeah, that's a cool story and all, but it's not in any way true. And I'm just telling you my information from journalists. United chose other players over Semenyo last summer. And look, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Of course it's possible. I would just put them further down the pecking order. Like, I would say Liverpool, Man City will be further ahead. Yeah, just my take on it. Like I said, United's finances are absolutely not fine. They're not in huge FFP trouble, but remember they already had a kind of an exemption previously, and I do think a few more sales are going to be required. What has Salah said in brief to suggest he's unhappy? The club threw me under the bus. The club broke promises. I mean, it's not fucking hard, mate. Come on. His words, not mine. So I think it's pretty clear that he said, why he hasn't been happy. Right, so 90% of people are happy with a 4-4-2 diamond. Right, let me get this one on. Right, so what now? The wording of this is important. I'm not asking you what you think will happen. I'm asking you what you want to happen. So, what do you want to happen with Salah? Finish out his contract, get sold in January, or get sold in the summer? Let me know what you're thinking. Again, this is what you want, not what you think will happen, what you want. Craig, has Salah ever won anything at the AFCON? With regards to winning the AFCON itself, no. No, he hasn't. Egypt are the most successful AFCON winning country, but in Salah's era, no, they haven't won it. Not sure fast already. Lewis Steele's tweet on Chiesa and Slot relationship, pretty disgusting in my opinion. Can't hold Plymouth match against them forever. I agree 100%. And it only, look, why is it Federico Chiesa that gets thrown under the bus for the Plymouth game? So I agree with you, mate. I think that's just bullshit from Arna, quite frankly. And like I said, I like him as a man, I like him as a player that he came out with recently. I don't buy it for a second. Not for 1 second. Because like you've said, mate, and like Lewis Steele reported, he's just never rated him, has he? Let's be honest about it. He hasn't. He's had him 18 months and he's absolutely taken the piss with freezing him out. While the club have paid in that time roughly 10 million quid in wages. 10 million quid for a player that gets garbage time and gets trotted out against Plymouth away from home in a much changed team, and somehow it's all his fault. Yeah, it's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Not you, mate. I mean, the situation. Nonsense. Gay, Bruno Guimaraes, Nusa is all I want for Christmas, said Peter. I just can't see Bruno leaving Newcastle. I just can't. Gay, absolutely. Antonio Nusa, I don't know as much about, but certainly a highly thought of attacker, right? Nusa's attacker. I think a Norwegian, is he? Jennifer said, would depend on if Slot stays. That's a fair point, Jennifer, but I just wonder if any manager, Jennifer, would come in now if we play the way we do and think that Salah will be able to give enough to the all-around team. Because, yeah, Salah's always going to chip in with goals and assists, but, you know, we can't really carry many passengers in our system. And Trent, you know, did help for a lot of those situations. As much as he was derided by many as a right back, he certainly had a very good understanding with Salah ahead of him. Sonder said, Slot, both bad tactics and bad man management. So, one of the things about the Salah outburst that kind of ironically, I think, blew up was it probably gave Slot more breathing room and took pressure off the owners to even consider sacking him, because they then couldn't be seen to sack a manager after what Mo said. I feel like that actually bought Slot more time. Now, also unbeaten in 5. 3 wins, 2 draws. So like I've always said on this one, I still have huge doubts on Arne Slot, but I'm open to being won back around. But I still have so many reservations about the style, defensively, the ability to actually introduce Isak properly and get the best out of him. Paddy Wacker, again, appreciate you, bro. Always nice and always appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Right, I need you to do me a favour there, folks. If you can, do hit that like button for me. And if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. I think I've gone through everything in my notes. Just bear with me. just in case I did miss one. I will be recovering all of this in a news video as well, coming out at about 10 to 11, somewhere around that. Yeah, so let's get back to this Lewis Steele take on Salah while we have the Salah poll up. So Lewis Steele reported that from conversations he had in the last 10 days to 2 weeks, that this is a deeper issue for Mo Salah than just being benched. Although Salah would never say it, I don't think he was overly convinced by the summer business and how Florian Wirtz and Isak were being named as the players to carry Liverpool forward. The Frankfurt game away, he came off the bench late on and he could have squared it to Florian Wirtz, but he didn't. He looked frustrated at full time, and that was the night that Salah deleted all mention of Liverpool Football Club from his Twitter profile. This wasn't something that happened like that, and the frustration was building. That in itself, I'm not going to lie, pisses me off. You know? Why delete Liverpool from your Twitter profile? That's... You mean, for a man that, you know, rightly talks about respect, that's a two-way street. And the club deserve that respect as well. Especially when the man's on 400 Gs a week. You know, to be removing them from your bio, that's not right. And Darwin was rightly called out for it. So, it just feels... It feels very selfish, for want of a better phrase. And Mark, thank you. Mark's put the GoFundMe link in again there. So rather than sending a super chat or anything, if you could, we're trying to raise money for Adam Duffy and his brother to go and represent Ireland at the MMA European Championships. And Adam's already won that previously, and he gets no funding whatsoever from the Irish Sports Associations or anything. So we're trying to help him out. And like I said, if you can't support him, please do click that link that Mark has in there, the GoFundMe. Slot had no new system coming out of the summer. He should have started a diamond, Mo and Ekitike up top. I think he bumped into the system with injuries. I kind of agree with you on that, Jennifer, regarding the injuries and the system. And it happens actually quite a bit that a manager is forced into something and it works. And I like this system in the way that we're playing it now. And I think, ironically, Salah could be one of the two up top in that system, because right now, Ekitike is the only one you'd really say would be nailed on. You know, Isak still has a lot to prove. Salah, if he stays, could be part of it. Where it leaves Gakpo, I don't know, in all honesty. But we still, in all of this and all these conversations, we're still no closer to sorting out Rio and Gamoa either. Drake Dillian said, I'm not saying that Salah did this, but a toxic player in a dressing room affects a team and performance. Could this be a reason for the team's recent bad form and good form since he's been on the fringe? Well, it won't help his cause that Liverpool haven't lost a game since he was benched, will it? You know, just, you know, again, I'm not saying one thing or the other, but it's not going to strengthen his cause, is it? Like, if we were losing every game he wasn't in the team, his hand would be far stronger in this. But we haven't, and it isn't. I think this could be down that we sold our title-winning squad, such as Diaz and Darwin. We also sadly lost Jota and Trent. He's not used to these new players. Look, that's of course, you know, bringing in some new players and some transition, that's fair enough. But I would still argue, mate, how could you not be impressed with a club bringing in Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike, Frimpong, Kirkes? You know, that's a club putting down a statement of intent. So I don't understand how he couldn't be impressed with that. But then what happened to the system that supposedly helped lure reverts? Again, a very fair question. That's that again, Biggie Ball leads into one of my other reasons I don't have faith in Arna is, we're fans. We all assumed that we were going to bring these players in, that there would be an absolute bona fide plan drawn up as to how to get the best out of them, how they complement the system the manager wants to play. And yes, it will be a transitional phase to some extent, but the fall off has been fucking awfully mad. Like I know we beat Brighton 2-0, and I don't mean to sound like a pessimist, but that could have been anything. Could have been 2-2. We could have won a 3-2. They had a higher XG. We gave up loads of chances. So there are still problems at our club, and we haven't been convincing for... I don't think it's an exaggeration to say 8 months now, 9 months, that we haven't been at all convincing. And do you know what else wound me up yesterday? So I was watching the Newcastle Fulham game last night. And it's probably the only bit of football I did really pay some attention to. And I seen what it meant to the Fulham player, or to the Newcastle players, to their fans, to be getting to another semi-final. And Arsenal will have a chance, and Chelsea are there. And then I thought about our arrogant manager jibbing away and throwing in the bin the League Cup. And I'm still not right with it. It still pisses me off to this day. The arrogance of it. A competition that could bring a trophy, more positivity, and he just threw it away. Like, that just screams fucking arrogance to me. Like, are we too good for one of the 4 trophies we get to play for? The one we've won more times than any other club? And we were a win away from a quarter-final. We were at home. And, that's okay. It drives me mad. Especially when the whole narrative in the summer was that we were supposed to assemble a squad that was able to compete. And we wouldn't have a Plymouth Argyle all over again. And the first chance he gets, he jibs away a tournament, throws it in the bin like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about people paying their hard-earned, travel over to the game up and down the country from all over the world, showing up and getting 2 fingers stuck up to them. And at the time, some people were still like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Of course it matters. It's a competition. By all means, put out a young team, but you got to have the bench stacked. Waddy, how are you, mate? Said, I'm torn between Mo leaving in January or the summer. I want him to have the send-off he deserves. Final game at Anfield, but I can't be arsed with the drama he probably will bring between now and then. I would bet my life, mate, that there'll be more drama. Bet my life on it. I can't, and I refuse to back down on that, because I do think there will be more drama. It'll be a miracle to me if he gets through the AFCON without something coming out for a start. But yeah, I think I'm exactly the same as you. I'm torn because I want him to have a proper send-off that he has earned. But I do think if he's here till the end of the season, it's going to get messier again. So I'm with you. I don't know if there's a happy middle ground in there somewhere, that if he went in January, he could do something. I don't know. Slot sacrificed the Carabao Cup for 3 points against Villa that week. And still doesn't make it any more acceptable to me, mate, as a fan. Are you telling me that the fans wouldn't have minded an L trip to Wembley, or that wouldn't have done wonders for confidence in the fan base and the squad? I mean, he can try to justify it however he wants, but he threw a cup game away. That's not acceptable. Do you think with all the injuries Slot has, his team play less aggressive football to save them till January and get more players? No, I think the injuries that we have are down to the manager. And the manager shunning some of the players in his already small squad putting a higher workload on others that will only ever lead to injuries. Like how we've been so lucky that Canada and Virgil haven't picked up an injury, I don't know. We're blessed. Absolutely blessed. So you've got Salah, Gakpo, Isak, Ekitike, Rio Engamo and Chiesa as the 6 forwards. And already he's jibbed off 33.33% of those by not playing Chiesa and Rio. So your 6 forwards are down to 4. He's dropped Salah for part of it, and Isak hasn't been fit. So he's already screwing himself in that regard. So no, I think his pig-headedness has led to some of the injuries. And then he has the cheek to moan about it. The injuries in small squads. It all sounds a bit double-speaky to me. I'm coding on my startup and your stream is so chill, having it on the background, could listen all the time. Thanks, Craig. Well, firstly, Mika, I hope your startup goes well. I wish I could code. God, I do. But I am an idiot when it comes to stuff like that. But thank you, man. And sincerely, I wish you all the best with your startup. I hope it goes well. Paddy Wacker said, unfortunately, we all know this coming. It has drama written all over it. When he threw that cup game away, did he realise people like Grandad pay good money to go and watch that? It's the way he said what he said, which was something along the lines of, this club is known for playing young players in these games. But he forgot the part of, yes, but you have a Salah, a Soboslai, an Ekitike, a Wirtz on the bench. You know, yes, by all means, you go out there and you put the young lads out and give them a run out. No problem with that. But you also have to have the backup there if it starts to go wrong. And that day, he just threw the lads to the wolves, and he'd no intention to win it. None. Slot doesn't want to take risks with players, but wants to keep a small squad. Make it make sense. It doesn't to me, mate. It doesn't. And especially when, like I said, the pitch was that we were to build a squad that was going to be able to compete across all competitions. That was the pitch. So look, ladies and gents, I'm going to head off and record that news video now. Once again, though, there are my predictions on Big Up if you do want to go across and check it out yourself. I have said that, yes, Hugo Ekitike will score a goal. Yes, Florian Wirtz will have a goal or an assist. No, Richarlison will not score a goal or have an assist. And yes, there will be over 2.5 goals in the match. If that comes in, my prize would be $37.50 or 3,750 big bucks from my 500 big bucks or $5 entry. So if you want to check it out, please do. Like I said, it will be part of our matchday content moving forward. And again, we appreciate your support. So keep an eye out in the next 20-25 minutes or so. I will get that news update video out for you. So if you're coming in late, you don't have to go all the way back through the stream. Tomorrow, Connor should be here with a video in the morning. The preview for the Spurs game went out earlier on, so do check that one out. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow evening for a news video, and then of course tomorrow night for a late night agenda. Much love. Have a good one. We'll talk then. Bye-bye.